Deadlines are super important when we're talking about the application process. There's a couple of different schools of thought or different ways that schools accept applications, and most of them revolve around deadlines. So the first deadline that you're really going to want to keep in mind is early decision. Early decision is the type of application that if you apply to a school under early decision, that means that you have committed to that institution that as long as you're admitted, you are going to attend. This is a binding agreement between you and the school, and one that I would only encourage you to go if you are 100% set on a school. Like this is your dream school, you've already kind of talked about costs and understand what your costs might be, because once you apply and are admitted under early decision, that is a binding agreement that you have. Early action is kind of similar to early decision in the fact that the deadline is usually a little bit earlier in the school year. We're talking November 1st, December 1st, and maybe as late as January 1st for early action. Early action is non-binding, and what it allows for students to do if they apply early action is to apply to a school early, get their decision generally earlier, and then start working on the financial aid process as well. Early action is a great way to go for many students. And then, of course, regular decision. Regular decision is what I would say is kind of your run-of-the-mill admissions timeline where you can apply before X date. Usually schools will set these. It can vary from institution to institution. So what I definitely encourage you to do is make sure that you are jumping on your schools that you're going to be applying to's website and understanding what those deadlines are. The last type of admission decision or admission timeline for the application is rolling admission. And rolling admission is the most flexible way for a student to apply. For example, Castleton University is a rolling admissions institution. What that means for our students that apply to us is they can apply as early as the first day of their senior year, all the way up through just about a week before classes get started is when we can take applications for students. The advantage to rolling decision is you can apply in any kind of timeline. You don't really have to, there's no set date that you need to apply by. You don't need to feel any pressure if you have a really busy fall schedule, or maybe if you're the type of student that wants to apply in the spring semester of your senior year, rolling admission can be really helpful. The flip side of that is that rolling admission means that everything is on a first come, first serve basis. So the sooner you apply, the sooner you'll hear back and you'll be packaged for likely scholarships and financial aid. If you wait until the very last minute, you might end up missing out on some opportunities. So it's important to, be mindful. Just to kind of give you an example of our ideal timeline for students to apply to Castleton, most students apply between, I would say, December 1st through February 1st is when most students are applying to Castleton. We certainly have students that apply before them, but we also have students that apply after that as well. Now, what goes into the application itself? Once you've kind of organized your thoughts and, you have your list of schools that you're getting ready to apply to, when their deadlines are, now you're getting ready to apply. There are a couple of different ways that you, first off, can apply to colleges and universities. There is the Common Application, which the Common Application is a universal application that allows you to fill out one application, write one essay, and submit it to multiple different institutions. There are hundreds of schools that are members of the Common Application, and most colleges and universities in the state of Vermont are actually Common App members as well. So you can apply to just about any school in Vermont by filling out that one application. And then schools also have school-specific applications. So let's say you decided on just a handful of colleges or universities that you wanted to apply to, or your college or university that you want to apply to is not on the Common App, you can use our application. And those applications are usually pretty straightforward, very similar. You'll fill out basic information, write an essay, and you'll submit that to that school, and it just goes to that one specific school. There are other application types like FAST applications and the coalition application, which I would encourage you to do some more research on your own. if your school ends up, that you're hoping to apply to ends up offering those as well. Most applications do require a fee. So that's, one thing that you'll want to consider when you're getting ready to apply to institutions is what are the fees for each college or university that I'm going to have to pay. Many schools offer fee waivers, so it doesn't hurt to ask about those. I know for Castleton, if you attend one of our open houses, we'll waive your application fee for you. So something to think about as well. Then, of course, in part of the application, there are going to be supplemental documents. And those supplemental documents will vary from school to school that you're getting ready to apply to. So, what I would also encourage you to do, if you're making a spreadsheet of colleges and universities that you're planning to apply to, have a column for deadlines, have a column for how you're going to apply, whether it's a Common App or a school-specific application, and then have a column for application supplemental documents that you're going to need to submit. That's a great way to get organized and keep yourself organized and know exactly what type of checklists you're going to need to submit. But for the most part, most colleges and universities are going to require you to submit your official transcript with as many completed course grades as you possibly can. If you have first quarter grades of your senior year, that's a good thing to submit to schools. It can be really helpful for us to get a gauge on how you're doing senior year. Most colleges and universities are going to also require you to submit at least one letter of recommendation. Maybe it's more. Most colleges and universities are going to require an essay or a personal statement. Some colleges and universities are going to require you to submit a resume with a list of extracurricular or co-curricular activities. Some colleges and universities might require you to submit a portfolio or an audition. And now more than ever, some colleges and universities are going to require you to submit SAT or ACT. Now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, colleges and universities have had to shift our admission policies and approaches when it comes to the standardized tests, because not everyone is able to take SAT or ACT scores because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some schools have gone test optional. Some schools still require SAT or ACT scores. And so what I always encourage students to do is definitely reach out to your admission counselors. Again, it kind of goes back to that admissions team. Make sure you reach out to those folks because they can give you a definitive answer on whether or not you're going to need to submit SAT or ACT scores when you get ready to apply.